Have you ever looked in the mirror and realized that the person staring back at you is the biggest obstacle in your own life? The truth is, most of us are in a constant battle, not with the world, not with others, but with ourselves. And yet, we rarely admit. Imagine being trapped in a cage built from your own doubts, your own fears, your own indecision. Every day, millions wake up, chase distractions, chase approval, chase comfort, and wonder why their life feels incomplete. What if I told you the most powerful person you will ever meet is sitting inside you, quietly waiting for you to unlock them? The one who can take control of your habits, your choices, your destiny, that person is you. But master yourself, that is the real challenge. We live in a world obsessed with external validation, like comments, promotions, the illusion that someone else's opinion defines your worth. But true power, the kind that changes everything, starts internally. Self-mastery is not about being perfect. It is about being honest. Honest with your weaknesses, honest with your intentions, honest with the voice inside that whispers, you can do more. Most people spend their entire lives running from this voice, masking it with excuses, business, and fear. But what if you stopped? What if you faced that voice head on? What if you asked yourself, not what will people think, but who do I want to become? Let me tell you a story. A young man, brilliant in ideas but paralyzed by fear, refused opportunities because he was terrified of failure. Every rejection, every small setback convinced him he wasn't enough. Until one day, he realized the enemy wasn't the world, it was his own self-doubt. He began tiny, almost invisible steps, waking up earlier, reading more, confronting small fears, tracking his progress. Slowly, imperceptibly, the man started winning battles he didn't even know he could fight. Months later, he wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. The lesson. Mastering yourself isn't a dramatic transformation overnight. It's a series of deliberate, intentional choices made consistently when no one is watching. And here's the secret: when you master yourself, the world no longer dictates your worth. Opportunities seek you, respect follows you, and fear no longer controls your path. The question isn't if you can master yourself, it's whether you are willing to confront the hardest opponent you will ever face, the one inside your own mind. Do you realize that every choice you make today is a reflection of who you are becoming tomorrow? Most people think self-mastery is about grand gestures or radical change. They imagine climbing mountains, launching businesses, or delivering speeches that inspire millions. But the truth is far simpler and far more terrifying. Self-mastery begins in the invisible moments, when no one is watching, when no applause is coming, when the world doesn't care if you succeed or fail. It is in those moments that your character, your resilience, your future are quietly forged. And here's the shocking part: the majority of people fail not because they lack talent, but because they surrender to the small, unnoticed battles inside themselves. Consider this: every emotion you feel, every reaction you have, every fleeting thought is power. Anger can consume you, envy can cripple you, procrastination can derail you, but only if you allow it. Self-mastery is not about suppressing feelings. It is about understanding them, harnessing them, and redirecting them toward purpose. Imagine having complete clarity over your mind, where distractions, doubts, and negative impulses no longer control your actions. That clarity is freedom. That clarity is power. That clarity is the difference between someone who drifts through life and someone who shapes it. Here's a story. A woman faced a choice: continue in a safe job that drained her spirit, or pursue a risky passion she barely believed in. Every voice inside her screamed caution. Fear whispered that she wasn't ready, that failure would define her, that regret would haunt her. Yet she paused not to escape fear, but to confront it. She asked herself, what kind of person do I want to be when I look back on my life? That single question changed everything. Step by step, she disciplined her mind, trained her habits, and prioritized courage over comfort. Months of small, deliberate actions transformed her life. She didn't just find success, she discovered herself. The lesson is clear: self-mastery is not glamorous, but it is magnetic. People who master themselves don't just move forward, they attract the right opportunities, the right relationships, the right circumstances. The challenge is simple, but relentless: confront your impulses, challenge your excuses, and make choices that align with your highest vision of yourself. Ask yourself today, are you letting the small battles control your life, or are you ready to fight them with intentionality? Because mastery begins the moment you decide that your internal world matters more than the external noise. Have you ever wondered why some people seem unstoppable, while others drift through life hoping for luck? The truth is, unstoppable people aren't born extraordinary. They've mastered one thing the majority ignore: themselves. Think about it. Every habit, every decision, every reaction you have is either building your future or destroying it. And most people spend years building chaos in their own minds without realizing it. The real shock: self-mastery is not about motivation, it's about discipline. The quiet, unseen force that determines whether your life follows your dreams or someone else's expectations. Let's explore how mastery works. It starts with awareness. You must become brutally honest with yourself. Where are your weaknesses? Where do your fears stop you in your tracks? What habits are quietly stealing your energy, focus, and time? Most people avoid this reflection because it hurts. They distract themselves with business, entertainment, or comparisons. But the moment you face yourself without judgment, without excuses, is the moment transformation begins. Awareness illuminates the battlefield inside your mind. Without it, no strategy works. Here's a story. A man had a habit of reacting to every slight, every criticism, every inconvenience with anger or defensiveness. It cost him friendships, opportunities, and trust. One day, he realized he was the common denominator in every conflict. He started experimenting, paused before reacting, asked questions instead of judging, breathed through frustration. Small changes, barely noticeable at first, slowly rewired his mind. Within months, the same situations that used to trigger chaos became opportunities for calm influence and leadership, people noticed. Opportunities multiplied. His life didn't just change externally, internally, he was finally free. And this is where the secret of advanced mastery lies. Self-mastery isn't about perfection. It's about control. Control over your emotions, your impulses, your reactions, your focus. It's about building habits so powerful that they don't just influence your actions, they influence your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who commands their life. Ask yourself, are you letting your mind control you, or are you learning to control your mind? Are you reacting, or are you choosing? Because the moment you step into that choice, every decision, every habit, every emotion becomes a tool, a weapon, a building block for the life you were meant to live. Have you ever realized that your comfort zone is the silent thief of your potential? It doesn't scream, it doesn't warn. It quietly convinces you that staying the same is safe, that risking failure is foolish, that the world will wait for you. But here's the hard truth, nothing extraordinary ever comes from staying comfortable. Every moment you cling to ease, you're letting your potential wither, your dreams fade, your impact shrink. Mastery of yourself demands you face discomfort head on, embrace it, and turn it into fuel. The question is not whether you will face discomfort, it's whether you will rise when it arrives. Consider this, growth always hurts. Progress is always uncomfortable. The mind wants to avoid pain, the heart wants to avoid rejection, and the world constantly challenges your patience. But the people who achieve greatness understand something most overlooked. Discomfort is a signal, not a punishment. It is an invitation to evolve. It is a test of whether you are truly ready to control your mind, your habits, your destiny. Every fear you confront, every awkward conversation you have, every risk you take is a brick in the foundation of mastery. Here's a story. A young entrepreneur kept failing at every business idea he tried. Investors doubted him. Friends warned him. He could have quit, but instead, he used each failure as a lesson. He dissected what went wrong, adjusted his strategies, and improved his mindset. Slowly, he stopped fearing failure. He began seeing as a guide, as feedback, as a tool to refine his skills. Eventually, what once seemed impossible became inevitable. Mastery doesn't remove challenges. It equips you to navigate them with confidence, poise, and clarity. Now imagine applying this to your daily life. Every negative emotion, every stressful moment, every setback becomes an opportunity to strengthen yourself. Self-mastery transforms the way you respond to the world. You no longer react blindly, you choose intentionally. You no longer fear criticism, you analyze it. You no longer chase approval, you define your own value. The power of your life shifts from external chaos to internal command. Ask yourself today, are you letting comfort dictate your life? Or are you willing to step into the discomfort that shapes greatness? Because the moment you embrace challenges, your mind sharpens, your habits strengthen, and your true self emerges. Someone unshackable, unstoppable, and unmistakably powerful. Do you realize that most people sabotage their own lives without even knowing it? They wait for motivation to strike, they hope luck will come, and they blame circumstances for their failures. But here's the shocking truth. Nothing in the world can control your destiny as much as your daily choices. Every single action, every habit, every thought compounds into the person you become. The question isn't whether you have potential, it's whether you are actively shaping it or quietly letting it slip away. Self-mastery is not a one-time act, it's a relentless, consistent practice forged in the invisible hours when no one is watching. Let's explore why most fail. The mind is a battlefield. Every impulse to procrastinate, every urge to react emotionally, every thought of self-doubt is a trap. If you surrender to them, but the moment you pause, reflect, and choose intentionally, you reclaim your power. Mastery is about taking back control from the automatic responses that dominate most people's lives. It's about deciding who you will be before the world decides for you. Here's a story. A woman struggled with self-doubt for years. Every opportunity seemed too big, every challenge too risky. She watched others succeed and felt she would never measure up. But one day she made a simple commitment. She would respond to every fear with action, no matter how small one step. Then another. She tracked progress, embraced discomfort, and refused to wait for confidence to magically appear. Slowly, her mindset shifted. Fear became a signal, not a barrier. Procrastination became a challenge, not a habit. And over time, she didn't just achieve goals, she became the person capable of achieving them. Here's the key: mastery is less about extraordinary talent and more about extraordinary consistency. Small, intentional actions repeated day after day shape the mind, the habits, and the character of the person you become. Emotional control, mental clarity, physical discipline, and relentless focus. These are not traits you are born with. They are cultivated. And the moment you start, even imperfectly, you gain an edge that no one else can take away. Ask yourself, are your choices building the life you dream of or the life you tolerate? Because the reality is brutal. If you don't master yourself, you become a puppet of circumstance, reaction, and fleeting desires. But if you do, you become unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniable. Section 5 is complete. Have you ever noticed how most people live on autopilot? reacting instead of choosing. They drift from one distraction to another, letting habits, emotions, and circumstances dictate their path. The shocking truth is your mind is a powerful machine. But if you don't control it, it will control you. Mastery begins when you recognize this. Every thought, every emotion, every impulse is either a tool or a trap. The difference between success and stagnation isn't luck, connections, or talent. It's self-command. The moment you take control of your inner world, you take control of your life. Let's break it down. Mastery starts with awareness, but awareness alone is not enough. You must act. You must deliberately shape your mind and body through daily rituals, focused practice, and intentional choices. Every small victory matters. The decision to focus when distracted, to breathe instead of react, to do the uncomfortable task before the easy one. These tiny, seemingly insignificant choices compound into extraordinary results over time. Most people fail because they underestimate the power of these small, invisible wins. But mastery rewards patience, persistence, and precision. Here's a story. A man was trapped in a cycle of anger, self-criticism, and regret. Every day felt heavy, and he blamed circumstances for his unhappiness. One day, he made a radical choice. He would respond to every challenge with awareness, every emotion with observation, every failure with learning. He began meditating for 10 minutes, journaling his thoughts, and reflecting on his reactions. Slowly, he noticed a shift. Situations that once triggered frustration became opportunities to practice calm. Mistakes became lessons instead of setbacks. Weeks turned into months, and the man didn't just feel different. He became different. He had unlocked the secret that most never understand. Mastery is not about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself. Here's the takeaway. The most influential person you will ever meet is inside you. Your mind can be your prison or your weapon. Your habits can limit you or elevate you. Your choices can define you or destroy you. The difference comes down to one thing: deliberate practice of self-mastery every single day. Ask yourself, are you letting your impulses dictate your life, or are you intentionally sculpting the person you want to be? Because the moment you decide to act with discipline, courage, and focus, your life stops being random. It becomes unstoppable. Have you ever wondered why some people rise effortlessly while others struggle endlessly? The truth is not luck, not talent, not circumstance, it's focus. Most people scatter their energy chasing distractions, opinions, and fleeting desires. Their minds are cluttered, their habits inconsistent, and their goals unclear. Mastery begins when you stop reacting to the noise and start controlling your attention. Attention is the currency of success, and how you spend it defines the life you will live. Think about it. Every moment you waste on distraction, procrastination, or meaningless comparison is a moment lost in building your best self. Your thoughts shape your emotions shape your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. If you master your attention, you master everything else. The challenge is that focus is not natural. It must be cultivated, and most people fail because they underestimate how relentlessly the mind seeks comfort, pleasure, and avoidance. Here's a story. A young man wanted to create a career that mattered, but he constantly gave in to distractions. Social media, comfort, excuses, everything pulled him away from his true potential. One day, he made a simple but radical decision. He would guard his attention like it was his most valuable possession, because it was. He created daily routines, eliminated distractions, and dedicated himself to deep work. At first, it was uncomfortable. At first, it felt like sacrifice. But slowly, focus became habit. Productivity soared, ideas multiplied, and opportunities that once seemed unreachable became attainable. He didn't just work harder, he worked smarter intentionally, with mastery. Here's the insight. Self-mastery is never passive. It demands deliberate action, constant reflection, and the courage to face yourself honestly. It is about choosing what deserves your attention and letting everything else fade into the background. The more you practice this, the more control you have over your emotions, your habits, your decisions, and ultimately your life. Ask yourself, are you allowing every distraction, every impulse, every external voice to steer your life? Or are you intentionally directing your focus toward what truly matters? Because the moment you take control of your attention, you unlock power, clarity, and freedom that most people spend a lifetime chasing but never find. Have you ever noticed how most people wait for motivation to appear before they take action? They wait for inspiration, for the perfect moment, for the sign that it's safe to start. Here's the shocking truth: motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like a fleeting shadow. The people who achieve mastery don't wait for motivation. They create momentum. They understand that action precedes emotion, that doing the hard work before you feel ready is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Think about it. Every time you wait for the right time, you surrender control of your life to chance. You give away your power to circumstances, to emotions, to distractions. True mastery begins when you commit to action, even when fear, doubt, and uncertainty scream at you to stop. The small steps you take consistently, even when you don't feel like it, compound into unstoppable force. The moment you understand this, you stop relying on motivation and start building habits that sustain you for life. Here's a story. A man wanted to write a book but was paralyzed by doubt. He told himself he would wait until he felt ready. Months passed. Then, one day, he realized he would never feel ready. He set a rule: write for 30 minutes every day. No excuses. Some days he hated it. Some days he produced little. But over months, the 30 minutes became an unshackable ritual. The words accumulated. The ideas flowed. The book that once felt impossible was finished. Action, even in imperfection, created momentum. Mastery isn't about inspiration, it's about discipline, consistency, and courage in the invisible hours when no one is watching. Here's the insight: life rewards those who act, not those who wait. Your emotions will never be perfectly aligned. Your fears will never completely disappear. But the moment you commit to action, the momentum you create begins to shape your thoughts, your confidence, and your results. The mind follows what the body does. Habits precede identity. Momentum precedes mastery. Ask yourself today, are you waiting for a sign to take control? Or are you willing to act now, imperfectly, relentlessly, and intentionally? Because the moment you choose action over hesitation, you transform fear into fuel, uncertainty into clarity, and potential into reality. The question isn't if you can master yourself. It's whether you will take the first step when no one is watching. Have you ever asked yourself why most people never achieve their true potential? They have dreams, talent, and ideas, but something invisible holds them back. Here's the shocking truth. It's not circumstances, it's surrender. Surrender to fear, surrender to excuses, surrender to the fleeting comforts of today over the greatness of tomorrow. Mastery of yourself demands that you refuse surrender, that you fight silently, deliberately, and relentlessly every single day. Consider this: every thought you allow, every habit you reinforce, every emotional reaction you feed is either strengthening your control over life or eroding it. Most people ignore this. They let impulses dictate their actions, they let fear decide for them, and they wonder why progress feels impossible. Self-mastery is about reclaiming that power. It's about choosing deliberately who you are in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, when no reward is coming, because that's when true character is forged. Here's a story. A young woman struggled with self-doubt and rejection. Every failure felt like confirmation that she wasn't enough. She could have quit. She could have blamed the world. Instead, she made a conscious choice that she would confront every fear with deliberate action. She began practicing difficult conversations, embracing criticism, and taking small steps into challenges that once terrified her. Slowly, her confidence grew. Her reactions became measured, her decisions intentional, her habits aligned with her highest vision of herself. What once felt impossible became inevitable. She didn't just achieve success, she became unshakable. And here's the lesson: mastery is a process, not an event. It's the sum of countless choices, repeated consistently. In the absence of applause, emotional control, mental clarity, and deliberate action are not traits you are born with, they are cultivated. And the more you practice, the more resilient, focused, and unstoppable you become. Ask yourself, are you surrendering your life to circumstances, distractions, and impulses? Or are you deliberately shaping your mind, habits, and choices toward mastery? The people who succeed are not luckier. They are relentless. They act when fear says stop. They persist when doubt screams quit. They choose themselves when the world demands conformity. Because the moment you refuse surrender, the moment you decide to control your inner world, you become a force the external world cannot ignore. And that is the essence of mastery: not perfection, not recognition, but unstoppable self-command. Have you ever realized that the only person standing between you and your greatest life is you? The most shocking truth is that everything you've ever wanted, every goal, every dream, every version of yourself you admire in others is already within your reach, but only if you master yourself. Self-mastery is not optional. It is the foundation of every achievement, every meaningful relationship, and every life of impact. Without it, talent, luck, and opportunity are wasted. With it, even the impossible becomes inevitable. Think about it: every great life is built on invisible victories. The choice to show up when you don't feel like it. The choice to act despite fear, the choice to focus when distraction calls. These moments, seemingly small, accumulate into power, confidence, and clarity. Every habit, every reaction, every thought is a brick. And the moment you start building consciously, deliberately, you construct an unshakable foundation. Without mastery, those bricks crumble under pressure. With mastery, they form a fortress that the world cannot dismantle. Here's a story. A man spent years chasing recognition, approval, and comfort. He blamed circumstances for failures and let fear dictate choices. One day he realized he had been waiting for the world to change, when the real change needed to come from him. He began small. He controlled his mornings, his thoughts, his reactions. He embraced discomfort, challenged fear, and committed to consistent action. Months turned into years, and what emerged was not just success, but resilience, clarity, and influence. People around him noticed, but he didn't seek their validation. He had mastered himself. And in mastering himself, he discovered freedom from doubt, fear, and external control. Here's the truth. Mastery is not a destination. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a relentless commitment to your own growth, your own choices, and your own power. It is cultivated in the quiet, unseen moments when no one is watching and no reward is coming. It is tested in adversity, strengthened by discomfort, and realized through consistent, deliberate action. Ask yourself now, are you willing to fight for yourself, even when no one else will? Are you ready to face fear, reject excuses, and command your mind, your habits, and your life? Because the moment you decide to master yourself, nothing in the world can stop you. Your potential, your impact, your greatness. It all begins with one decision: to be the master of the one person you have absolute control over you. This is the path. This is the choice. This is mastery.